Chapter 8. How does the modern economic system help your business? Now, we move on to learn about the modern economic system, including tips that you can use to grow your business while in it. This is an important part of this book because many things have been changing from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now going into the current century. As new innovations and technologies have been coming in, we noticed a shift in the way that people do things. For example, someone can now run an entire company from his home and be fine. This sounds like something that's really cool, but have you thought about those in the business of real estate? Have you ever thought about them as companies who rented their office buildings kept on asking for a smaller space, leaving larger parts of their buildings unoccupied? What about the guys in the transport sector? What happens to them as fewer people commute to work? All such dynamics ought to be looked into and proper suggestions offered as in how you, regardless of the sector you are operating in, can take advantage or transform yourself so that your business does not sink and close shop. Therefore, what does the modern economic system look like? The modern economic system. Before defining the modern economic system, we should go back to how we defined an economic system in Chapter 2. This is so that we understand the flow of the subject matter as we dive deeper into this chapter. As such, we took a definition of an economic system from the Corporate Finance Institute. An economic system is how the governments organize and distribute available resources, services, and goods within a certain geographic region or country. More so, I mentioned that the presence of an economic system aids the regulation of the factors of production which include land, capital, labor, and physical resources. Also, I mentioned that the economic system is made up of institutions, agencies, entities, decision-making processes, and patterns of consumption. With this pool of agents, the economic structure becomes unique to the country. As such, an economic system has three pillars in it. These are resource distribution, regulation of factors of production, and the role played by institutions. Therefore, as we look into our modern economy, we will also take into consideration these three dynamics. 1. How are resources distributed today? 2. How is the structure of regulation looking in these modern markets? 3. What types of institutions are major players across economies? But first, let's define our modern economic system. When I think about this subject, I can't help but think of things that made the modern economy, a British radio show and podcast that airs on the BBC's World Service. This podcast was first aired in 2016 and is presented by economist and journalist Tim Hartford. Now, there is something fascinating about something he once said about the show. In essence, he created the show to describe the economy with examples of clever ideas, people's viewpoints, and tools that had far-reaching consequences. The modern economy was built on layers of ideas, actions, and consequences of the past. That is the reason I wrote about economic ideas in the previous chapter, because they started being taught among us way back in history. They actually provide a foundation or basis for how we do things, economically, on this day. Nevertheless, think about how we fly all over the world to negotiate and sign business deals or for holidays abroad. Wasn't it because of the idea of building an airplane by the Wright brothers? And think about property rights, patent laws that began some hundreds of years ago, just to protect the producer of an original concept. There will